Welcome to the Fostering Change Podcast, Season 3. I'm Rob Scheer, the founder of Comfort Cases and your host. Together, we have made such a difference in the world. We've met with leaders and change makers in the foster care system. We've met with charities and philanthropists, celebrities, authors, and so much more. We'll continue to bring you guests who will share how together as a community we can bring about change. Welcome once again to Fostering Change. It is so hard to believe that here we are in April and Fostering Change as a podcast has truly changed me in so many ways. I have always felt that I was someone who kept on top of current events, being a dad of 5 kids. I am definitely love to read, but since I've been doing this podcast for the last 3 seasons, I have read so many books, but this one particular book that I read, I will have to tell you, and actually I'm getting goosebumps if you could see right now, because, I've always felt when it comes to parenting, there's never been a manual. And everybody thinks that they've done it the right way, and everybody wants their child to be in this particular box. Well, my next guest has written a book, My Everything, The Parent I Want to Be, The Children I Hope to Raise. Einat Nathan, you are coming live with me from Tel Aviv. By the way, you're my first person I have ever interviewed in Tel Aviv. So welcome to Fostering Change.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited and I'm so overwhelmed with your opening. So I'm delighted to be here.
Well, one of the things that really caught me about your book was your back cover. I'm always one of these ones, as even an author, I read my front cover and my back before I actually start into what I call the love, which is the inside of the book. And it says, parenthood is like a bungee jump. It is scary and fun, and it makes you fly and flings you down. And as the wind blows in your face between heaven and earth after you dare to take that leap. I read that right before I started reading your book, and I thought about my 5 kids. So, I am a dad of 5. All 5 of my children were adopted through foster care. My oldest son is 21, who arrived at the age of 18. And my other children are 17, 15, 14, and 13. And each one of them have a different personality. And you talk about that. You talk about, how we really parent our children. And I got this thing about humility, about how to be humble as a parent. Can you explain that to me, what you mean about that in this amazing book?
I think that if we haven't met humility before we became parents, then this would be the title of the journey, don't you?
Yeah, I really do.
It's all about, if we compare it to agriculture, for example, when I put something specific in the ground, I know, like I put my carrots in the ground, I know that hopefully if I take care of the ground, if the terms and conditions will enable the carrot to grow, I will see a carrot. I think that when we raise children, it's putting the carrot in the ground, and hopefully if the conditions meet the needs of the seed, maybe we'll see something else.
Right.
So it's a double mirror journey to humility.
I know the fact that, what I've read about on social media about you and about your book, about how it's really, a lot of moms. It's been a big book for moms. But I have to tell you, as a dad, and my husband, by the way, my husband picked this up. He read it as well. And as dads, and my husband's a stay-at-home dad, he got so much out of this book, and one of the things that I think that we all try to do as parents, here in the States is, we want our kids to stay within that box. We are like, we've given you this, we've done this for you. We want, and what I got from this is that if you, as you just said, if you plant that seed and give the right love and energy, you should allow that carrot to shape in any way that it possibly can.
Yeah, you're still sticking to the carrot.
Yes, yes, I love
Yes,
that. I love
you
that.
see, because I'm not in the carrot. Oh my God, I've planted a carrot and I got a thorn with one green leaf. And I said, okay, we'll work with that.
Yeah.
So the journey is about, I think, understanding or tuning to this state of putting your ego aside and getting to know each and every one of your children's need, or even, it's I can't run away from agriculture, because it's always about the ground and the roots, and we never think about shouting at a plant in our backyard that doesn't straight up or doesn't flourish. We always go back and check ourselves and check, I don't know, the water, the sun, the everything around it. So it's also in the matter of taking accountability for us being their best option.
The best option. Wow. You talk about the fact of the tree, and for those who know me, they know that trees, I have pictures of them all throughout my house. Yep, I am one of those people. I actually have a very large tattoo of a tree because I always think about my children and how rooting them into the ground. And as that tree grows, the branches grow in different ways, and they're, some are crooked and some are straight and some hang over and some stand tall. And I think about my kids when it comes to those branches. And I really felt that when I read your book.
It's very exciting to hear, because I meant that even in a metaphorical way, right?
I got it. I totally got it out of that. The thing is what I really love. I travel a lot, by the way. So as a public speaker, I travel. I'm on the road all the time, and the guilt that I've always had as a parent is the time that I give to my children. And I would see on social media, or I would read how, oh, I set this whole day out with my kid and gave my kid that, and then I read this. Oh my gosh! And I felt like, oh my God, I'm not failing, because, sitting on my daughter's bed she's 17 now, and I just got back in town the other day, and I went into her room and I was laying across her bed, and we were just chatting. We were just, talking. It was her, it's her last semester. She's getting ready to go into high school in her last semester. And we just talked, and we probably spent about 30 minutes just, and
for a 17-year-old girl, that's a lifetime.
I know.
Try to talk to a teenager for more than 3 minutes. It's wow.
I know, but I will tell you, prior to reading your book, I always felt I failed, because I'm so busy on the road to provide for my family. And that, yes, my husband is a stay-at-home dad, and I think he does get the extra, but even my 21-year-old, last night, as I was, freshening up, thinking about, things I wanted to talk to you about, and he's sitting in the chair, and we probably spent about 6 or 7 minutes just talking about your book, and then and I thought, it filled my cup.
It's a two-way stream, right? Because parents that have this plan, or this box, as you call it, I think that they're not available enough to be curious. And sometimes you let the small moments skip, or really the sacred parts of parenting, of which are hard, by the way. They're not always sweet as you described. You were talking about your 17. I just remembered my evening with my 17 last evening, where she just shouted at me and screamed at me for leaving my clothes on her bed. And I was just, inhaling and putting aside, the autopilot, which I wanted to tell her, oh my God, you're living in a 5 stars hotel. What did I ask from you? One time I'm leaving the clothes on your bed, and how ungrateful can a person be? And I put that aside, and I was like, hey babe, what's going on? Do you want to, let's talk about it, because I'm sure that it's not my clothes. You're never the kind of person that shouts on clothes, and she was, I saw the minute that the lightning struck her, like, okay, what's going on? And then she said, I feel like there's a bad energy between us in the last week. And I was so moved that she could say that, because she was right. But you know what was the bad energy between us? She began to hang out more with her friends, and she felt like she's not at home enough. And I asked her, maybe it's her growing up that making her scared, or making her project, certain things on our energy. And then she paused and said, I think I'm scared of separation. And I told her, we're not separating, you're growing up. I'm here. And then she started crying. If I would have had a plan on how to raise the 17-year-old teenager, being, with this manual of how to comment when she's sassy, or how to behave when I would have missed on this moment.
Yes. Yes. So much. And I think about what you just said. For me, as my kids, and you, by the way, you and I have the same amount of kids. And so, my children all arrived with trauma. Coming from the United States foster care system is the worst of worst. I mean, children from foster care suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder twice the rate as our combat veterans. My oldest son, who is 21, he arrived at the age of 18. So here is this young boy who really had no stability, no true family, purpose whatsoever, and always used to having parents or people deal with him in the way that you just said we shouldn't deal. And so a lot of times what I'm seeing is a lot of my kids, and not all of them, but a couple of my children are always pushing the boundaries because they're so used to that. What would you do if you were in my shoes?
I think that I would look at the phrase pushing the boundaries differently, because I don't know, when you sit on a roller coaster, which is really scary, and you've got this seat belt that is supposed to secure you just before it goes for the ride, you check it just to see if you're safe. So I think it's a part of them doing this action in order for us to make them feel safe. And sometimes pushing boundaries triggers parents, especially in the world where there are all these experts that say that we are raising children without boundaries and we should have a united front. Just listen to the vocabulary, by the way. Is it war? boundaries, front? Are we fighting someone? So I think it's an invitation for a safe space. And sometimes we need to remind ourselves that this is what it is, because we have come from our childhood traumas. They're not the same, but I know few parents that can take on the trigger of disrespect or not being seen or not feeling important. And sometimes we misinterpret this checking the boundaries thing, because it's not against us, it's for them.
You know what? I love the fact of changing vocabulary. And that is something that, we talk a lot about here on Fostering Change, is the fact that our vocabulary really impacts each other. So listen, we're going to take a quick break. Everyone, Einat Nathan, the book is my everything. The parent I want to be, the children I hope to raise. I'm telling you, I say this every week to each and every one of you, whether you're tuning in on one of the podcast channels or you're watching us on YouTube. This is all about educating us, each other. And as a parent, there is no manual, and it is not an easy road. And it is like being on the bungee jump. That I want you all to know. You know what? We're going to be right back. Comfort Cases is now partnering with Clean the World, an amazing organization dedicated to water, sanitation, and hygiene. Clean the World operates recycling centers across the world. Hong Kong, the Netherlands, Las Vegas, Orlando, and including our nation's capital. They are leading a global hygiene revolution. They are distributing recycled soap and hygiene products from more than 8,000 travel and hospitality partners. Clean the World has made the decision to donate hygiene products to Comfort Cases so we can place them in our cases. These products are so important to our youth that are entering foster care. Having their own brand new hygiene product really means a lot to them. These donations will truly give these kids an amazing feeling of self-worth. I want to thank you so much, Clean the World. And for more information how you can donate, please visit their website at cleantheworld.org. Well, you know what? We're back, and I am so excited to be talking to now I do consider my new friend. And the fact that she's here all the way from Tel Aviv, she is the #1 international bestseller. Her book, My Everything, is my everything. I read it. My husband read it. As a matter of fact, my assistant, Barry, she was just like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to get my hands on this book. Because being a parent is always something that I, for instance, grew up in foster care, having different parents who played that role. There was never any way did I think, did they do it right? Did they do it wrong? And what this book really taught me is the fact that if we would just throw the whole manual idea away and really understand that each and every child is an individual, as I said earlier, a branch on that tree and will grow any way they need to grow. You just need to be there to show them love, give them water, the sunlight. And I have to say, I don't know how you do it all. So you're a mom, you have 5 kids as well, correct?
Yeah, Eyal is 22, Yoav is 20, Lihi is 17, Rona is 14, and Shira is 9.
Wow. So you're like me. You have the gambit of ages of kids.
Yeah.
I find it so interesting and fascinating to see my amazing humans, as I always call them. I always call my kids laugh and they're like, Dad, I call them amazing humans because I love to see the way they're growing into individual humans that they've all taken their different paths. It's funny, my kids are raised by 2 dads, and so not one of them liked theater. My But they're raised by two dads, and all my boys, my four boys, are the biggest sports fanatics you could imagine. So it truly does show you that if you allow a child to be raised as an individual and let them take their own steps, they will truly do that. They will truly do that. One of the things that you talk about is, gradually food makes its way into emotional realm. You
I'm still in the first sentence that you've said about growing in foster and now raising foster kids. And I was thinking about myself and about the opportunity of parenting these five children. And I think that I can say now, after 22 years of being in this role of being a parent, that there is something, I'm trying to define it. I think that just by accepting them as they are, just by welcoming their existence in my surrounding, there is a healing process to the wound of the childhood. I'm becoming the parent I wanted to have for myself. There's a process that slowly begins of amazing cure. Do
Wow.
you understand what
I
I'm trying
do.
to
I
say?
do. I do.
And
I
the moments, it's tiny moments, but there are moments of pure joy and, excitement and tears of, this feeling that how I'm treating them is a bypass or a correction of how I was supposed to be treated.
wow.
So, so we have a second opportunity to
That
heal.
You're right about that. I remember years ago someone interviewed me about, being a dad who, for my life, I grew up, very abusive parents in the system. At the age of 18, when I was a senior in high school, as most people know the story, I became homeless and literally lived on the streets my entire senior year of high school. And I remember being a little boy, about 6 years old, one of the many houses I had lived in, one of the many, never remember a Christmas tree, never remember a birthday cake, never. And I remember seeing a parent in a front yard in the neighborhood throwing the ball with their boy. And I remember looking at that boy, and there was such a jealousy in me that I knew that I was never going to be that boy. And I knew that I was never going to have that dad. But I had said to myself as a little boy that when I grew up, that I was going to be that dad. And it is something that I have tried so hard for the last 13 years since my children arrived.
And do you feel sometimes that through that dad, you get to be that boy? You get to go back in time. I'm sorry.
There are times when you can imagine, you know, when I saw my son Alex at 18 and how he just needed someone to love him. And why would I take an 18-year-old child into my home? But I also saw that 18-year-old boy when I was little, and instead of someone saying, come home, let's this is your safe place, as you talked about. I was handed a trash bag and I lived on the streets. So yeah, I do flash back and think, but being a parent, you're right. There are moments of such unbelievable joy. But then there's also moments of unbelievable heartbreak.
A nightmare.
Yeah.
It's simultaneously everything together,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You notice, and I seem to do this. Like I said, each of my children are individuals. Each of my children have come with trauma. I have a son who suffers from what we call reactive attachment disorder, and it's just a nightmare at nights and days and weeks and And do you ever look and think, if this is I do, how could I have done something different?
No, never. It's not efficient.
Oh, I love that. It's not.
Really, all this process of guilt and what could I have done better, it's not. I think that when you accept, but fully accept, that we don't have control, we don't really have control. We can only be present in the here and now. We can only do our best. And if you're a believer like I am in relationship, then you can always say you're sorry. You can always, you know, repair the rupture. And there will always be something that you've done wrong or you would have done differently.
No,
But
I agree with you. And that's why so many times I say it's all about unconditional love. I think that's so important. One of the things as we're wrapping this up, I want to tell you, we do in our family, we have been doing this.
wrapping up,
Yeah, it's almost, can you believe it? It's been such a great talk. But, one of the things I have to tell you, we do this in our family and have been doing this since our children arrived at a young age. And when I read your book, it really was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, I think she's going to love this. We have this thing that we do, and it's normally it used to be Friday nights because the kids were younger and Friday nights was the family night. Now my teenagers on Friday nights, they don't even be home. So we've moved it to Mondays, but we call it Family Forum. And what it is, it's a moment in time during the week that the family comes together. Sometimes it lasts 15 minutes, sometimes it's been an hour, but it's the opportunity for each and every one of our children to really express how they feel about their dads on any action that we had taken. And so many times during that period, we have to apologize because, yeah, dad, maybe I shouldn't have did it that way, or maybe I you're right, I shouldn't have spoke to you like that, or maybe when I did, take your phone, maybe it was for too many days because so we do this, and what we do is we tell our children there's no repercussions. So anything that you say during the family forum time, it stays at family forum and walks away. What do you think about that?
I think it's amazing. I think it's amazing. I think that if we didn't need this hour, if we could take this hour and just, tell jokes.
Yeah.
And we can give the safe space of, saying in the moment how you feel about this dad or that dad, or what our or my partner's reaction have, how he met the reaction or how she thought something was wrong. I think that we can leave a larger space for communicating, and I think that we don't need this safe space of declaring, hey, this hour, this day, you can say anything. I want to make the space like any minute, and I want to make space for myself as a parent to, say, okay, I've heard you, I'm going to think about it. We have a joke in the family that when they have complaints that I don't think that I can reply or make myself better, or in a bad day, I don't think that they're justified. There's a complaint box in the entrance of our living room, and I just write it down and put it in the box. We'll open all your complaints like on the family dinner, and each and every one of us will laugh at the other one's complaint, and we are doing the best we can. But this was the joke. So I want to leave the ritual for fun and joy, but if it allows this space of feedback, as you're describing it, because it sounds like good family time.
Yeah. No, and I
wonder,
You're right. And last night we were all sitting around at, and you hit the nail on the head though, by the way, because what has happened over the years of doing this, it has allowed our children to feel and to express in a safe manner whenever they want. And not having
Now
to
we can
work.
watch a movie.
Yes,
We can
yes.
eat popcorn. Yeah.
Yes, and the fact is that I say this quite often, and my husband Reese says it too as well, is that we're not always going to get this right, and so let's all do it together. Let's all do it together.
Yeah.
And that is
This
so
I
important.
love. I love it.
I love it. Listen, I love you and thank you. I'm telling you, everybody, Einat Nathan, my everything. Please go out and get this book. Please, please, please go out and get this book. As a parent, by the way, I have so many friends that I'm sending this book to who are actually parents of toddlers. And I think you need to read this to start getting prepared. But my assistant, Barry Carr, one of the things that she always says to me is that certain things are, and I want to get this right, but beshert. And how this is a true beshert moment, that this was meant to be. And I feel that. And, I just can't thank you enough for writing this book, to care enough to let us know as parents that, it is like a bungee jump. I actually have to tell you, this particular quote that you did on the back, my husband actually had it printed out and it framed and put in, yes, because I was so moved by this. And, it was when you said, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath.
There's not a day that we don't need to take a deep breath. And they're the best teachers in the world. And I want to thank you so much for the safe space that you made for me today, and tell you that this virtual meeting didn't feel virtual at all. And for the last, I don't know, half an hour, I felt at home just by the tone of your voice and the look in your eye. And there is something so amazingly authentic about you that I think that if we can put a headline on it, it would be that we're sharing our imperfectness with each other. And if we can parent like this, life would be much easier for them and for us.
You are right.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much
Oh my
for
God,
this
words are so
imperfect talk.
Wow.
And this imperfect English of mine.
No, your English was great. Your English was great. Listen, everybody, I normally end these conversations with, something that I really want you to take away, but I think that the takeaway is everything that you've heard today, and that each and every one of us have an opportunity. Make tomorrow as good as today. And the thing that I say is that really look into a child's eyes. Because if you really look into a child's eyes, you will see your future for tomorrow. You'll see your future for tomorrow. And gosh, is that future bright. Take care, everybody. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for listening or watching the latest episode of Fostering Change. All of us on our team hope that you've learned something new today and have been inspired to be a good human. Now, just a reminder that you can always find Fostering Change on your favorite channels on Google, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, and others, including, of course, comfortcases.org. I want to give a big thank you to all of you for joining us each and every week. And a reminder that if you have a suggestion for a guest, or maybe you might have a question about today's podcast, or are interested in becoming a sponsor of Fostering Change, please don't hesitate to email me personally at fosteringchange@comfortcases.org. Now, that's it for now. Thanks again, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Take care.